Welcome back to In the Oven with Adam and Brad.
What's up, y'all?
We got something cool that happened to us yesterday.
So cool.
Someone messaged me and they're like, "I'm sure you already know this, but Kallmekris and her boyfriend reviewed your cookies, and I really enjoyed the review because, you know, if one person didn't like it, then the other person like they kind of like gave feedback on different things,
Right.
And I was like, no, I didn't know this. And I was like, can you send me the video? And they sent me the video. And essentially she was doing, I bought every product I saw on Instagram that day. And luckily we happened to be one of those products.
Way to go, marketing team.
Yeah. So I don't know how we got on.
I don't know how we made the cut either. Obviously, you found this channel. You know who this girl is. She's huge. I mean, like top 30.
TikTok.
Top 30 followed TikTok in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I think that she obviously has like a studio where she films stuff, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so we'll show some of it because surprisingly we got a long
She gave us so much
section
screen time,
in there.
man. Yeah.
I think if we click on it, you can kind of like scrub through. I would like scrub through to like when she tries Big Sexy. I think is one of the ones that they really like.
Show massive.
And then Massive Eruption was another one that they really liked. So
Classic mispronunciation of Doki.
yeah, I know. Everyone calls it Dookie.
D-O-U-G-H. Come on. I'm not going to flame her because she did such a great job responding. But
it wasn't her.
everybody
I think it was her boyfriend.
Dookie, ha-ha.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Everybody does it. We're used to it now. It used to bother everybody here. But
Yeah. I honestly don't know how to change it without hyphenating it. And then I feel like then it's like.
I feel like they're going to
not the
do it
same.
again.
Yeah.
I feel like they just want to say that word.
Yeah, probably. All right.
Let's see what we got.
Oh, no.
Of course.
Oh, no. Wait, you're not signed into mine. So we have an ad? Oh.
Cookie crumbs everywhere.
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
that's Big
This is
Sexy.
the fudge.
Wow.
Oh, no, it's not. It's
See.
the
It's
They
the.
want- say it.
Dookie?
It's literally called the Letty Dookie.
Yeah.
What's in this one? Caramel. Mmm.
Wow.
Fire.
Oh wow. That's this with ice cream would slap. Biscoff, cookie, and Krispy Kreme donut.
See, I think they didn't even know it. It's funny because she was actually reading the back of the packages, so she knew like which cookies were which.
Yeah.
But I feel like she got overwhelmed by all.
Yeah,
of
we got a lot of names. You know,
Yeah.
I could see that. It's so easy for us because
Yeah.
we can look at it from the mile away and know
Yeah,
what cookie it
especially
is.
if you cut in half. If you
Yeah,
cut in
oh,
half,
yeah.
I can definitely tell you
Oh,
because
yeah.
some of them on the outside, I'm like, this can be a bunch of different things. But I think if you scrub through, you'll see Massive Eruptions in there too. No, if it's past that one,
Yeah,
that's
that's
Black
Black
Beauty.
Beauty.
But they did rave about the inside of all the cookies and like how good they were.
It's just not. All right,
Keep,
next up, the pudge.
Yeah,
keep
that's
going.
Pudge.
It's Pudge. Yeah,
Find out when if the center is.
This one
there
is.
it is.
Mystery flavor. Oh, it kind of smells like Biscoff as well.
Is that what that smell is? I
That's the
don't see
Letty
it
Doki.
on here.
And it is fire.
Oh, that's like straight up Biscoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Biscoff cookie.
Yeah, that's a Biscoff cookie.
This is completely
I like
organic, y'all.
Biscoff a lot.
We
It's
didn't
pretty good.
pay for this. We probably couldn't have paid
Yeah,
for it.
oh
I don't
my
know.
gosh. Oh wow, it's
This is my favorite part though.
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna fall everywhere.
Oh, this is gonna be my favorite.
Yeah,
I
me
know
too.
it
I
already.
chocolate lava cake is my favorite dessert.
Well, don't worry, Chris. You're getting one.
With
Wow.
ice cream, unbeatable.
Oh my gosh,
Literally unbeatable
I
with
should
ice
have
cream.
got multiple of these.
Mm.
Oh, I need to order this again. This is my
Damn.
favorite.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really good. That's better than the Chili's lava cake.
Yeah.
Is it Chili's?
Hear that?
Chili's
That's gonna be our
lava
new.
You hear that,
That's gonna be our new
Look at it.
tagline. We're better than
This
Chili's
is
lava cake.
amazing.
Are you talking about Chili's lava
That's
cake?
it. That's
No,
gonna be our
this-
tagline.
No, I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say
it.
because
I love
Chili's
it.
lava cake
Yeah.
is like acceptable.
I think this is one of my
This
favorite.
is
Yeah.
amazing.
So,
Favorite cookie
anyways,
I've ever had.
Well,
really,
and a
really
little,
cool.
Yeah, a
to
little
see.
backstory. We got this at night. I don't even know what time last night. And so, like, I cut it on with the family. My family all knows who these people are. So, basically, all my hard work here kind of came to a peak, a pinnacle of like, oh, wow, you are doing something impressive. It's like, oh, gosh.
You know what's funny is like I knew who she was, but I had saw some of her like content way back in the day. She's like one of the first people to do that content where one person is multiple people in a video where they either change clothes or they like act different. And she did a lot of content of like her versus like a toddler or her kid or something like that. So I was like, oh yeah, I know who this is. It's crazy. And I didn't realize she had gotten so big, you know?
50 million on TikTok?
Yeah. That's wild.
Like 11 or something on YouTube.
Yeah, crazy. But no, that's a cool fat and weird story.
Right.
Now Adam's family feels like he's a success.
Yep.
So, you
Yep.
know, that's a,
Yeah.
that's a win there.
Hey, man, you know, when you got young kids that watch YouTube or anything else, plus we play it on the house, and, you know, I'm familiar with Oompaville and that whole channel. And so, yeah, it was just weird to see people that you watch just.
Yeah, I think like obviously if you were like to make a tier list of things, like seeing your product on the shelf of like a major grocery store is still going to be like top tier for me.
Oh, yeah.
But like this is pretty high up
It's
there
on the
to
way,
see
dude.
like someone. Well, for example, the other day Hydro Jug screenshot from Keeping Up with the Kardashians TV show.
Oh.
Khloe
Hydro
Kardashian
Jug?
is holding a Hydro Jug in her hand.
Oh.
Like that. Is
Yeah,
like
and it's different
a level
when,
where you're like,
you know, because Hydro Jug, they're a little maybe past we are in the social media influencer space or whatever. So it's different though. We send out plenty of gifts. We send out plenty of care packages to big name
but we
people.
don't really work with anyone.
No,
like Hydro
not
Jug
really.
does, yeah.
No, for sure. But to organically, like
Yeah.
they came to our website on their own, bought the cookies on their own.
Yeah.
We had nothing. We didn't know about it. I mean, that's cool, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk? Since I wanted to jump into that, since it's fat and weird related. Anything fat and weird related you want to talk about?
No.
So-
Just
well, well, by the time this goes up, every Wegmans will
That's
have
right.
our bites.
Yes, they will.
So
Get out there.
yeah.
help
so
us
if
out.
you have a Wegmans near you, get out there and get some
Yep.
bites.
And Christian's down at the Unify conference said he's slammed as can be with people interested in the product.
Okay.
They are very excited. We shipped a ton of samples down to him, so they're able to try them.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he
Yeah.
said Unify checked him out, some like little tablet for him to have and take orders. So we'll know at the end of the day. But these are major retailers that go, you know,
Yeah.
pull from Unify Direct. So
That's awesome. I
it's
didn't know
intense.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep it, you know, whatever. Don't want to count your chickens, but it's
Yeah.
exciting. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
really, really cool. Yeah, obviously there's just like a lot of fun things happening with Fat and Weird. You know, we're looking at moving away from a couple of bites flavors just to bring in some new ones. I kind of gave a poll on my Instagram and Fat and Weird's Instagram, and I was kind of caught off guard.
I know.
I kind of expected Letty Doki to do well just because people love Krispy Kreme donut and they love Letty.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they just do.
Yeah.
It's also hard because like we have a son now. I don't know, but
We
like
got to get Beckham a cookie.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I think you could run Letty Doki forever because I
do
just
too.
feel like that name is just like whatever, you know.
It's great. And then, you know, using the Krispy Kreme donuts like we use, using Biscoff like we use. I mean, it's next level. It's next level cookie.
Yeah.
Shrinking it down into a bite.
Well, the whole reason it's called Letty Doki is because, you know, at that time we only had Letty, and it was like everything that my wife and I loved. Like
Right.
I love cookies, so one, it's a cookie, but two, it has Biscoff in it, which I also love, and then Aubrey loves donuts, so it has donuts in it. So it's like everything we loved in the cookie form,
Yeah.
in an ode to our daughter. So I think that's a cool story to tell with the flavor,
too.
you know, and to stay with it and not change the name when you go commercially. And
That's
people are
right.
like, "Why is this called the Letty Doki?" And like, well, I'll tell you why, you know.
That's right.
But so that was number one. Number two was DoorDash and Chill bite,
Which is fire.
yeah,
it's fire.
I was surprised though
Yeah.
by that.
Yeah.
Then number three was Caked Up.
Yep.
And then four was peanut butter and jelly.
I know. I mean, is what it is, y'all. Y'all can have your opinions. I love peanut butter and jelly, though.
Yeah, I think that may be one of those things that like when you try it, you're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, right.
Because it is like the best one when you try it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't even like peanut butter, and it's my favorite one.
Right.
Also, like, let's look at Uncrustable sales and decide that peanut butter and
Yeah.
jelly stuff obviously slaps still.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, with that one, I mean, to me, that one's easier because, yes, it is still a sweet treat, but it's easy to justify. I mean, it's snackable. You just pop it in. You know, you're not
Yeah.
really wanting too much of a sweet treat.
Yeah,
You're
I
hungry.
agree.
I'll pop a few of those in my mouth and be good to go.
Yeah, I definitely view that more as like a snack rather
Mm-hmm.
than dessert. Like I could eat that throughout the day, eat it at night. Like I could eat that at all times. Whereas like you're not really gonna want birthday cake just like. Well, I mean, I do. But
Yeah, I
like,
mean, I
most
do
do.
too. Yeah.
Want to eat birthday cake
Yeah.
just like whenever, you know, throughout the day. But yeah. Speaking of snacks, did you watch the Super Bowl?
No, you know I didn't.
I
was
know,
asleep.
but I just like the
I
people
saw
that
some
know that you
clips.
didn't
Yeah, I
like
saw
it.
some clips.
Yeah, did you watch even the commercials?
I watched clips of the commercials after the fact.
Okay.
But no, I didn't even have it on in my house, and I was probably asleep before
Well, I was gonna
halftime.
say like the funniest commercials to me. There was like a mayonnaise. I think it was Hellman's mayonnaise commercial.
Yeah.
And Andy may be able to find this commercial real quick on YouTube. But it's funny because it's my humor where it's a little bit sexual and it like pushes the boundary of like what you're allowed to do on social media. But essentially she just like bites into the sandwich and she's like, oh my gosh, like at the table, and then the guy's like, oh, this is a real one. And it was just funny. And then at the end of it, like they walk up to another woman to like take her order and she's like, I'll have whatever she had, you know?
I saw the Scrub Daddy for their little
here it is.
little cream.
Back in this place.
Oh yeah.
They're like, cream me, daddy.
No good?
Like, whoa.
Ready? Here
Yeah.
we go.
There we go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, boy.
So good. Oh, it's so.
This one's real.
Oh. Woo. That is a sandwich.
Is this a movie reference?
I'll have what she's having.
Were they You Got Mail Together or something? Harry Met Sally. There you go.
But yeah.
Shows my age.
So, but anyways, I thought that was funny because it caught my attention. You're walking around the house and all of a sudden you hear that, you're like, what's on the TV?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So they did a good job on that, I feel like.
Yeah, and then I saw Pringles and Little Caesars did a collab. I think accidentally. They both were doing like mustache features or something on their deal.
Okay.
And then so they've been collabing all over social media like together.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a neat little play, Pringles and
But another thing, I think, just like watching this, there was some theories that like supposedly Elon Musk was about to run some ads with his own money.
I heard that.
And so a lot of people I know were watching to like
Or
see
those.
these ads, and there wasn't anything. But I know that that's like the next thing on the list
That
to
was
talk about.
borderline
was-
the only reason I was going to try to watch the commercials was because I read that was coming too. The Doge stuff.
So like next on the list, I think for Andy, he had the Doge stuff up there, and yeah, it's wild the amount of spending that we're seeing, and so let's go ahead and talk about
Dude, what's
that.
wild is the lists that they come out with. You don't know if they're real or not.
Yeah.
And you're like $800,000 for like balloon animal research. And then you're like, oh, here are links to real pages.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Yeah, or like there was some of them where we're just like we're giving a lot of other countries money to study things that like we're just like, I don't know, in my opinion they're more like societal
Elevator
issues
music,
and stuff.
standardization. I mean, you just see all this stuff and you're like, I don't know, is this real or not?
Yeah.
So you laugh, let it run off your back. But then when you look at government waste, man, it is that atrocious.
So, but this was apparently on their backlash, so let's see what it is.
The battle over who controls government spending now centered on the U.S. Agency for International Development. President Trump's ally Elon Musk placing the agency and its more than $40 billion budget in the crosshairs of the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. USAID, a humanitarian organization created by Congress in 1961 as a tool of American diplomacy, spends much of its money on vaccinations, medicine, and food. The Trump administration saying some of the money goes to DEI programs abroad, with agency workers and lawmakers locked out of their headquarters and many relief programs frozen and under review.
The immediate
Yeah, so I think the hard part for me to like want to agree with some of this stuff is that they found that they were using some of the money for like smear campaigns. Soros apparently got $200 million or something like that for some reason. Yeah. And so I mean, we're in the military. There is this whole air of like scratching each other's backs and using taxpayer money for doing it. And I think that the higher up you go in the totem pole, the bigger it gets.
Imagine. I was never high enough to do anything get some new stuff at the end of the year for my unit. But
how upset people are getting over Robert Kennedy. And I realize that like a lot of it is like his belief in vaccines, and that's a very polarizing thing for people. But man, the questions that he's getting seem to be more like Big Pharma does not want him in.
Yeah, his whole little appearance was quite strange to me. The amount of people that wanted to grill him on things that really didn't seem relevant to his job,
right?
Or even personal. Just seemed like a smear campaign.
Yeah, for sure. And then to know that $8.1 million was given to Politico by the USAID.
Now, did you know smear campaigns? Smear campaigns.
Yeah,
against Trump.
Yeah, and Robert. So yeah.
Did you know that USAID stood for Agency of International Development?
I did not.
I didn't either. That's a power of the name, y'all.
Yeah.
That's a powerful name because it makes people go, yeah, it's for helping the U.S.
Yeah. And I get it. I definitely want to like help out other countries, but I also don't want to help out other countries to the point that like our own country is suffering.
Yeah, there's
Right.
a I don't know what you want to call it. I watched a guy talk about how the United States can be robbing some of its best and brightest from some of these areas who might learn to do with what they have and really make powerful changes, but instead they come over here, they go to school, they stay here, or they go back. And when they go back, they use the tools of the United States, which is just money. And like, if you just pour money on an issue, you're just going to create a bunch of, what you want to call it, greedy, evil people.
Right.
Because they're going to suck it up. There are bad people everywhere.
Right.
And those people are going to figure out how to get those dollars, because the people that just need food and water and, you know, medicine and stuff, they're not thinking about the greenbacks.
Right.
But the other people are. So you
Right.
look at what happened in Haiti and everywhere else. It's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I've always struggled with it like biblically, because like like love your neighbor, like, and then the Bible also talks about, like helping other people and stuff. But, I've been reading that Boundaries book, and in the Boundaries book, it clearly states that like your job is not to help someone live their day-to-day life. Like they need to learn, they need to like survive on their own. In the Bible, when it's talking about like helping people, it's talking about like helping them in times of need.
Mm-hmm.
So when maybe you just had a baby, right? And like I'm gonna get some food to you and things like that, and I'm gonna help you through this circumstance or through
Right.
this time of need. But by helping someone beyond that time of need, then you're not truly letting them have the consequences of their actions or their
right.
life. And, I made that may sound harsh to some people, but like your parents can bail you out anytime.
Yep.
Whenever you were younger. They could buy you that toy, they can do whatever. And the people that always got their parents that bailed them out, whether it was paid for whatever that needed to be done.
They didn't turn out best.
They don't know how to. I mean, my parents, if I just told my parents, like, I don't want to work anymore, I'm just going to come live at home. Like, they wouldn't allow that to happen, right? They would be like,
not
no.
with that, not without some serious like
Right.
circumstances.
Again,
right.
a serious circumstance,
Right.
they'd be
Right.
there to support me through it. But, you wouldn't allow your kids to live at home, be 30 years old, not have a job, play video games all day, and smoke weed. Like, you just wouldn't allow that to happen, right?
No.
But if you did, that's your problem with the boundary.
Yeah.
It's not your kid's problem.
Yeah, there's a bit
know?
of like, don't feed the bears. And I don't know where the line is, but like, yeah, for sure. If you do it enough, they will straight up starve themselves to death because either they get lazy or they forget how to hunt. I don't know. But yeah, there's a bit of that. If there's a time of famine or drought and you got water or food, yeah, absolutely. You should help people.
Right.
Kind of like putting your air mask on first on the airline, though. You should probably help the most helpful people first. And that's
Right.
never the message. It's always help the borderline about to die anyways. And
Right.
if there's a serious issue, I mean, we should be able to tier that stuff. And I don't think that the Bible breaks it down per se, because I think they leave it up to the, to be interpreted. But yeah, it's a struggle too, because, people are always real quick to, if they know you're a man of faith, to like use that against you.
Well, yeah.
And you're like,
Well, I think if you think about like God has boundaries too,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I'm reading that's the section I'm in right now is talking about like God's boundaries, and I think there's a instance it talks about where like king is inviting people to like go to this party, is the way the Bible's talking about, or the way this book is talking about. But like the king's inviting people to this party, and like everyone's saying like no, they don't want to come. So eventually he's like, anyone that wants to come can come to the party, And I think that's kind of the whole idea too of like if you're constantly pursuing a relationship or a friendship with someone and they're just like not interested, at some point you have to be like, all right, move and pivot. And
well,
go to a
what
different
percentage
direction.
of prayer do you think comes from people who have done something wrong knowingly? Maybe a crime, maybe just something wrong.
And trying to
and
avoid-
now they're praying to avoid the consequences.
Yeah.
They're not, dear God, I'm so sorry for not listening to you, or da-da-da-da-da. Can you still please help? It's not ever that.
Yeah.
It's like, just help me get through this thing. And
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I don't like
But
that.
I mean, I think that it's very interesting to me because like in that book, it did bring up too about like that even though God has boundaries, like you can still persuade God, just like by your prayer and petition, towards Him. it brings up in the Bible where God was going to like destroy an area, and like I think it was Abraham was like, no, don't do it. And then he was like, all right, well, find me 10 people that are not, and I won't destroy it all. But I mean, that's a whole, process.
Yeah, I think
of that,
I like to think, anyways, that God looks at us on how much we're living up to our potential, the potential that He set for us. And so, like, if you're half-assing it, you need to use the skills God gave you. You were born with. You're smart. You can get up off your butt and work.
Yeah.
But some people are fully pegged out. They're really just going full speed.
Right.
Some of those people exist. I don't know. I like to think God answers those prayers faster than others. A lot of times when I pray, I'm more praying for like a level head. Like, help me make the right decision. Help make sure this is because I'm going to do something. I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. And so that's where I struggle because I don't normally hear a voice in my head that tells me what to do. This is what I'm going to do. Try to stop. Please stop me if I'm wrong.
Well, I think that the closer your relationship becomes with Christ, your prayer life and your desires for your life start to be more in line with that. So like, I don't know if necessarily more prayers are being answered, but just like what you're praying for is more aligned with like what God's vision for your life is, because you're like seeking Him. And so like, it's not like, give me all this money or like do this thing for me, you know, it's like, help me make the right decision. Help me like lead my family, help me do what is in your will. Right. And so I think obviously those prayers are a lot easier for God to answer, or, because He's like, no, He's like wanting, He's wanting to go down the path, and I think that people think that like, it's going to be easy, and it's like, I just like bring back Jesus, like literally Jesus in the garden was praying to not go on the cross. Literally. He's like, if anyone else can do this, like, let them do it. And God was like, no, you got to do it.
Yeah. Deep.
And so,
deep.
So people forget that part, that like literally Jesus is like pleading with God.
Yeah. You align yourself with Christ, and I know we've talked about it too, like kind of like not the toxic thing, but how your parents always had a harder life than you. But anytime you think about what that man went through for us, kind of puts yourself in a perspective, and you go like, all right.
And the whole reason we're talking about this is we were actually talking about how people say like, don't bring up money, religion, or politics at like the dinner table, and
which we disagree.
Yeah, I think I disagree with all of that, because I always want to know why someone believes what they believe in. It doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to change my mind or that they're going to change their mind, but it just helps you have a deeper understanding of people. Everyone has different priorities.
Yep.
Period. Like, that's the reason there's bars. That's the reason that there's churches. That's the reason that there's strip clubs. Everyone has different priorities in life.
Yep.
And so just because you don't have the same priorities as someone else doesn't make you a bad person.
That's
and
correct.
I think that a lot of times we've been pushed, especially on social media lately, to the extreme, because like Mr. B said, you can't like bananas. You got to love bananas, and the best fruit in the world. So like, people have taken that stance in politics. Like, if you don't believe the same thing as me, then you're a horrible person. And it's just like, well, how many different types of restaurants are there? Because obviously people don't like the same thing.
Yeah. And we take the fringe approach, right? So like, if I, at the dinner table, if I can't bring up my faith, if I can't talk about my faith around the dinner table, I'm at the wrong dinner table. I don't want to be there. Now listen, you could be a non-believer. You can be a believer of something else. That's fine. I have plenty of friends that are of Muslim faith or of maybe mixed, non-whatever. But like, if you're a staunch atheist, we're probably not eating dinner together. I mean, you're just probably not. And now I mean that not in a way, not agnostic, not folks who are just maybe don't know or have no faith, really. Folks that are like super anti-religion.
Or like a Satanist.
Yeah. Or that too. I mean, of course. But like, I think we can find common ground. I think we can find common ground in our faith.
Yeah.
Same thing with politics. If you are engaged in politics enough to be excitable about it, then you should be able to have a calm, level-headed conversation. Maybe we don't need to go back and forth if we have two staunchly different beliefs. But I don't think that's what's being talked about. I think it's just like people saying quippy, negative things at each other.
Yeah.
And so like, I've got liberals in my family. I've got liberals that I eat at the dinner table with, and I'm not like pretty much a libertarian, but I like to see where they're coming from. Some of it helps me, align with my family.
Yeah.
And then money too. I mean, again, we should all have goals. I mean, if you're the guy at your dinner table that sounds like a talking head off Instagram and you're like, money, 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 yeah, people are going to get tired of you. Don't do that. But if money means you can do something with it, which I think most of the good people that I know want to make money to do something else with it. Okay, I don't need to hear about. If you want to make a bunch of money and buy Lambos and yachts and stuff, like, okay, that's cool. I'm not going to want to talk as much with you about it. But, like, if you want to make a bunch of money and then, like, help somebody over here, help this organization, do some stuff with it, let's talk, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you should be able to talk about all those things.
Yeah.
And we talk about them all the time. So,
yeah, I think that I honestly feel like it's like a way to keep people like from aspiring to big goals. It's like, don't talk about like money or financial goals, because then you may find other people that have the same similar goals and then you can do better.
Well, that's like the great rub of never do business with your family, right?
Yeah.
Except for the most powerful families in the world all do business together.
Right. Yeah.
Walmart, all of them.
Well, and you hear these stories too, like never have a partner. Never, and it's like the biggest, best companies usually have multiple people involved because you just can't do it alone.
It's a team sport, man. Yeah, I don't care. LeBron James by himself against any other basketball team.
Yeah.
I mean,
right?
Yeah,
he's not going to win.
No.
Yeah.
So, like, it's tough.
Yeah.
You need a team.
For sure. What I don't like, though, about money is having my money go to like random stuff that's not improving our country, while other people are like literally like, I can't afford
forcibly
to eat.
stripped from you. Yeah, when it's forcibly stripped from you and you can see on your drive into work a million things that money would have been better spent doing.
Right.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very frustrating.
So, yeah, Kanye's bizarre Super Bowl commercial. Before we get into his Super Bowl commercial, have you even heard what Kanye's doing lately?
His clothing?
No, like his rants on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. They're hilarious.
Well, they're hilarious because he's unhinged.
Yes.
Right. You don't like, yeah, I got what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
But just to say, like, because some of the stuff he's saying is like, well, and then recently someone said, like, I don't think anyone should get banned from Twitter except for Kanye now, because the other day I opened up my phone and, like, he's posting, like, just, like, pornography now on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they're like, and I literally was
That's
at
one
a
thing I
restaurant
don't like about X or Twitter or whatever is the filter is not good enough if you just don't want to see. And I understand they're trying to go for First Amendment and free speech and all that, but it's like, I should be able to completely hide that type of stuff from my timeline. I don't want to open my phone and be like, let me show you something on Twitter, and then there it is. Like, just who knows what.
Right.
And even Instagram's gotten pretty bad, but it's not X caliber.
Right.
I mean, X will just have porn going.
Right.
And like,
yeah.
why?
So that's what someone said the other day. They're like, yeah, I literally opened up my phone and Kanye's post was just like, boom, front and center in the restaurant. So, but let's see his bizarre Super Bowl commercial. I didn't even know he had one.
I spent like all the money for the commercial on these new teeth.
Kanye West dropped a bizarre Super Bowl ad after days of offensive X posts. After bombarding X with controversial posts, Super Bowl viewers were left stunned after Kanye released an advert promoting his Yeezy brand.
So, once again, I had to shoot it on the iPhone.
He's in the dentist.
Go to Yeezy.com.
Viewers rushed to social
That's what he
media
did
to
last
comment.
year.
So, yeah, someone said that it's all just a stunt so that he can be trending before the Super Bowl. And then when he launches his Super Bowl ad, he's already trending. And so it's easy to then just pivot towards his Super Bowl ad, giving him all free marketing. So the problem is, like, some of the stuff he's saying is like, it's not even like unhinged. It's kind of like hate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't like hate speech, right? Because it's just like, but it's just like, yeah, I think you should be allowed to say anything. But because of what you said, like, I do not want to buy those clothes.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And I
yeah,
think
absolutely. I mean, I'm not buying nothing for the guy, and I definitely do not agree with any of the stuff he's done. But as somebody who can just constantly stay in the limelight,
yeah.
I mean, now he might be finally going down,
right,
no man's land, but man, he can get attention on himself.
So that's my point. I think that Kanye should be allowed to say and do all the stuff that he's doing right now. I don't think he should get kicked off of X or Twitter or whatever. I think that he should just he should be allowed to say all that. I think that you, as the consumer, can go, I don't agree with those things. I'm not going to purchase from Yeezy.
Yep.
And I think that's what you do. You don't cancel somebody. You don't do all this stuff that everyone wants to do. You go, I disagree with what you're publicly putting out. I don't have to support your business based on what you're saying.
Yeah, and I mean, even further, I don't like what I see on X a lot of times, so I don't get on it unless I get sent a link that has to be opened through that. Then it doesn't even open.
Another thing you can do: you don't like what he's saying, you don't like his content, you can block that content. That's it. I think that so many people feel like the world must be curated for them. Like, I want to get on social media and this is what I want to see, and I don't want to see any of this, and I don't want to see that. Well, it's like, okay, we'll start blocking that content, saying I'm not interested in that. Like, but at the end of the day, the algorithm isn't responsible to hand feed you the content.
But that is the problem with the algorithm, is like, even with Instagram, Meta across and X, you used to only see what you followed.
Right.
If you followed no one, you had nothing on your little scroll thing.
Yeah.
Now it's full, regardless.
Yeah, and
like,
I understand why they did that.
Sure.
And so that's why I actually have that following or favorites that I've like marked people so I can change what my feed is, because I do prefer the chronological timeline. I do prefer to only see who I follow. And I prefer to go to the explore page or whatever to find other content. Same. However, I know they know that this is better dopamine hits. It's better for them, and they don't care what I like. They care what makes them more money. And
time on that.
Because used to, I could tell when an ad was popped up because I was like, I don't recognize that account. Ad. But now I'm like, I don't even know, because everything is just mixed together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people just are a victim. Take it into your own hands. Block it if you don't like it, and just move on. Don't buy that, and just done with it.
Yeah, that's gosh, Kanye is such a weird guy.
But that's the hook for this is a hook for short form content. That I think Kanye should be able to post whatever he wants to post on X and Twitter.
I agree.
First Amendment.
Heard it here.
Say whatever you want to say. But then I can choose to block you or not buy your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that goes with me across the board, man. Like, I just, I think the free market kind of dictates. And if people don't like your service or your product or the way you market or whatever, it usually shakes itself out.
Yeah, that's how things that do. All right, Tony Robbins, what are you focused on? I think I've seen this one, but
if we make the right decisions, the first one is what we're going to focus on, and that's just a habit. You change anything. Take that person. Why is that person depressed still? Because all that drug does is numb you, and numbing doesn't deal with the issue. What's the real issue? You're constantly focused on what's missing versus what you have. You're focused on what you can't control. And there's two worlds, right? The external world, the internal world. We can't control the external world. We can influence it. We can't control it. If you think you're in control, you have a deep illusion. I went to Mexico recently. You and I were talking off the air, and I discovered I couldn't even fully control my bowels. It's not something I want to talk about. Right. It's like all the willpower in the world doesn't mean squat, no pun intended, right? The part we can control is what's going on inside of us. And that we can control what we focus on. We can control the meaning. We can decide the meaning. We're the meaning makers, and we can decide what to do. And all the anxiety and bullshit tends to go away, especially if we're trying to do that to serve something more than ourselves. Not like you're so unselfish you're not going to succeed, because you can't serve something more than yourself and not benefit.
Yeah, I think I saw him on the podcast with, what's his name? The guy with long hair, kind of rednecky dude.
Theo Vaughn.
Theo Vaughn. Yep. I think he was on the podcast with Theo Vaughn. And he told Theo Vaughn to look around the room and look for anything that was like blue. Yep. And then he told Theo Vaughn to close his eyes and say, now what was green? Yep. Theo Vaughn was like, well, I couldn't recall anything, right? And so the whole premise was that what you focus on is what you're going to see. You may do this now. Remember you told me that you had looked at some Range Rovers? Yep. How many Range Rovers do you see on the road now?
I see plenty. Yeah.
Ton, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember I don't feel like I ever saw a Pathfinder until I got a Pathfinder. And now I'm like, Pathfinder.
Yeah. I'm like, is that Brad?
Yeah.
Is that Brad?
Yeah. And so, and how many white trucks with like that gold do I see on there all the time? So, I think, I agree with this so much. And I think that a lot of people tend to, me too, I like almost like obsess over something sometimes. And I can spiral my own self by like obsessing over negative things. And then next thing you know, I'm opening the next negative door and the next negative thing. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is in shambles.
Well, it's so easy because, social media makes it even easier. But, as a ambitious person, you follow other ambitious people. And then because of social media, you don't know what's real or not.
Yeah.
And then you're like, holy moly, well, how am I so far behind? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Why are these people so much more successful than me? Da, 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 da. You know, like, oh, this guy over here, look at all the nice husbandly stuff he does all the time. And, oh, man, look at that. That lady makes her husband fresh made whatever, you know, all these crazy.
She makes brownies by actually taking the cocoa beans and drying
you know,
them out.
just all that. And you just see it and you see it and you see it and you can't. And it's like, none of that stuff's real, man. That's not what you had. And yeah, I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. If we focus more on what we have, which, that sounds so easy. But if we focus more on what we have, anytime that, you know, I pray or whatever, that's definitely one of my prayers, and help to remember, like, all the things my wife does for me, how amazing my kids are, whether they were giving me hell that day or not.
Yeah, gratitude,
you know,
just gratitude.
I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for Fat and Weird, even if the day may have sucked or whatever it is, you know, like I try to remain, because it's easy. It's so easy to be like, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that too. There's the raw deal, I think, of being a guy sometimes. But yeah.
Well, yeah, the other day I was driving home and I was just like smiling, because I was just like, even I walked in the door and I was like, why are you so happy? Like, why are you smiling? You know? And I was like, well, chill, dog. Like, you know, don't come to me with your negative energy right now. But I was just like, yeah, I'm just smiling because, like, I left work, and not that I was like happy to be in. I like left work and I was like happy with what I built, right? And then I was like, I'm coming home to my wife and kids, you know, and I was like, I was happy. I was like, man, I'm so happy. I'm so fortunate, you know? And so, yeah, I think that a lot of times it's so easy to get caught up on like this or that or what's not going right in your life, because you kind of you want this perfect life. You built it out. Like, I'm gonna marry this person or this type of person, and we're gonna have this many kids, and this is my job, and this is the vacation, and I think a lot of times, like, we create these expectations, and so when they fall short of the expectations, even though if someone else from the outside were looking at it, I'd be like, that was still great, like life, really great, you know? You know, that you can get caught up on like what didn't go how I wanted to go or didn't go as well as I wanted it to go. And so for me, yeah, it's definitely, I told you, like, clarity was my word for 2025. And a lot of that clarity is like just being grateful, you know, towards what I've got. So
yeah, I agree.
First impressions.
The big thing that I got wrong, and I see almost everybody get wrong, and it's bad common advice about first impressions, is that just the best way to get people interested in you is to be interested in them. And what I found is that that is generally true, but it ignores the realities of status. I'm sure you experience this. A lot of people come up to you, they're very interested in you, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna make a good first impression on you. It means that you might have compassion for them. It might even mean that you might feel love for them, but it does not mean that you're gonna wanna follow up and spend time with them. Probably you've experienced, I don't wanna follow up with this person and spend time with them, even though I see their sincerity of their interest. There's a few things that if you just do this before expressing your interest in somebody, changes the whole game. So fun, trust, respect. If you, and this can take 60 seconds or less, can communicate that you are fun, that the person can trust you, and that there is something to respect about you, and then you express your interest in that person, it will completely flip the dynamic on its head.
Okay.
I don't know about the fun component, depending on, because if I'm making a first impression on somebody that really matters to me, it's probably going to be somewhere in the business space. I'm already married, got my friend group, we're good, you know, like. So I'm not really sure about that. I would say that first impressions, though, are often thought of as like the elevator pitch, right? And if you know, put on your best clothes and you got your pitch all shined up and all that stuff, somebody else has probably done that pitch. They look better, whatever. One thing that has always helped me make first impressions is being very fit. I think my interest in Lifetime and fitness has always kind of made, I mean, they can look at me and go like, hey, wow, you work out a lot. So they know that you're dedicated to something over a long period of time. I mean, I've met billionaires that wanted to remark about my physique. They can't buy it. They're, you know, regardless of what you think, you can't take drugs and just magically look like anything.
Yeah.
And so that's been very easy to kind of go, they just kind of get to do one of these numbers to me and go like, okay, you're at least committed to something. Right. Now, I can't be a meathead. You got to back it up with a lot more. But then when they're like, oh, you're actually intelligent, let's go talk.
Yeah.
I would say that that's a huge thing. And then finding folks who, instead of fun, if you can reach out to folks that, and I don't want to sound like this is manipulatory, but most of the folks that I've had the most success with were older than me where they looked at me like I was them along their own path. So they could see themselves, you know, whether it be your grind, your hustle, your ideas, your intelligence, whatever that is, they go, yeah, there's something about this kid. Not because I'm like funny.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I don't know. How would you rank that?
Well, when he said, when he brought up status, he said, like, you're not in the same status as them. It's just the sphere that you're talking to them in. So, like, when I think of status, he's probably talking about someone financially that has more money. But there's a lot of people that, you know, like you said, flip the coin. They're like, you obviously have status in a physique that I don't have status in. So, and if I'm interested in that, now we have something to talk about where I look at you as the expert and I'm the expert of this. And now there's an exchange of information or thoughts that feels like an even transaction, right? It does. I think I love these, and I mean that sarcastically, because they never really give examples. Like, why don't you give me an example of what you mean? Because, like, to me, that's like, you drew out this 60. It only takes 60 seconds. Like, well, you spent 60 seconds telling me that, so why don't you go ahead and spend another 60 seconds?
How'd you knock it out of the park?
Yeah.
Guy?
For me, it's usually, instead of fun, it's like relatability. So, like, if someone is, you know, in a similar phase of their life than me as I am, or they're into similar things I'm into, like, relatability makes me then consider that person that I'd want to reach back out to them, because I know that we're going through similar circumstances. So I may want to ask them some questions about what they're doing, you know? And then trust, I mean, I think that's just like one of those things, like, either you are come off as a trustworthy person or you don't, you know?
Fun fact, people who curse are usually trusted more than people who don't.
Yeah.
That's just kind of a fun statistical fact, but oftentimes you are thought of as, like, speaking from the heart.
Yeah.
And not speaking from, like, a well-polished, whatever. And so I think the relatability piece, now, don't run up and start cursing at people, of course. But if you just talk the way you talk, right? Everybody talks a little differently. Some people can curse and nobody bats an eye at it, and other people, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so the deliverability, just the polish, right? I guess we talked about that elevator pitch. They're going to go like, yeah.
It feels too recited.
Okay. Yeah. Versus like, oh, man, if so-and-so, blah, 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 whatever it is, you know? And then to me, I've just kind of always tried to find something that I can ask people about that's not quite what everybody else is going to ask them about. Why'd you pick those shoes? Why, whatever. Not, oh, that's a nice watch. It's
well, like, I'm trying to pick situations that, like, I would be on the flip side. Like, I would have the status, and I'm trying to remember conversations that like, for you, like, maybe when you were approached through Grid League or things like that. So for me, like, all the expos I've been to and stuff like that, I remember people more that just have like that have like more of a genuine connection with, as far as like we just are going through similar things, or we like similar things, or, you know, a lot of it usually boils down to food. Like when people come up to us at expos and they're talking to us and they're like, oh, we know you love desserts. Like, you got to check out this spot and this spot. And then, like, we go check it out and they're like really good. We're like, okay, one, that's trust. Now I trust what they have to say. And then two, it's that, okay, you've given me something of like some kind of knowledge or value that, like, Yelp can't provide that. I mean, it's word of mouth is so much better. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's not fun. It's kind of probably like relatability or exchange of information that you are perceived as an expert in.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Crimes solved by Google Maps.
Crimes solved by Google Maps.
All right.
Here are some crimes that were solved by Google Maps. So an Italian fugitive escaped prison and lived unnoticed in Spain for 20 years until a Google streetcar captured him standing outside of a shop buying vegetables. A Florida man went missing in 1997, and it wasn't until 2019 when a land surveyor noticed his car in a lake on a Google Earth satellite photo. The same happened actually for a Michigan man as well, who was missing for 9 years until this photo emerged. A family in Oklahoma City had their house robbed with no leads, but 3 years later on a Google Street View, the perpetrators were caught on camera and later identified and imprisoned. A man in Oxford was caught stealing over 500 bikes thanks to this aerial satellite image of his backyard revealing the stash. Google was also responsible for snitching on 16,000 pool owners in Athens, Greece, who failed to report ownership of a pool and had to pay a special tax on them. And finally, an Edinburgh man was caught axing another man in broad daylight, launching an internal investigation, but it ended up just being a prank. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, yeah, I was going to say that obviously it was like a prank.
I've seen folks that get ready, they know when the car's coming. I don't know if they publish that or whatever, but they do some pretty funny stuff on there. That's tough, man. Obviously, I don't want any crimes happening here, but like, gosh, man, our grandparents would be rolling over, or great-grandparents rolling over in their graves with like
Big Brother up in the sky,
just in the
about your
skies,
pool.
on the streets, on the everything, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
so honestly, the pool one, it was the one that I was like, that sucks. The other ones, I was like, yeah, catch the bike thief, catch all those, like, you know, find that missing person because someone cares about them and never had closure. But like the pools, bro, don't be telling daddy government
what do you
about
got? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, I have nothing to hide, and like, no, I don't want anybody building a, uranium extractor in their backyard. But like, I still like privacy.
Well, so the other day, I was walking to our mailbox in the morning. Like, it was pretty early, like sunrise time.
Yeah.
So, like, 6:30 in the morning?
Right.
And I just hear this noise, and I'm like, man, are the construction workers, like, already going? And I'm like, no, it's not it. And I'm, like, looking around, and all of a sudden I see a drone just, like, up in the air, above, like, some houses and stuff. And it wasn't over my house or all that stuff, but it got me thinking, like, I've flown my drone, and I don't ever, like, look into people's yards, but
you could.
Yeah, you could. And then, what if you just decided to be, like, naked sunbathing in your backyard, right? And now this drone is, like, flying over you.
High-def video.
Yeah, with high-def video of you naked in your yard now. It's kind of, I don't know, it feels like an invasion of privacy to some extent. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, technically, how high up do you own?
Right. I mean, I don't think you do. I don't think you own any airspace.
Well, I mean, you can build. It's like certain areas are, you have a residential, like you can build a certain height. So I would assume you'd own up to that height.
Yeah, maybe.
But I know technically the FAA owns like, part of it. But like, I don't know if there's a height.
Yeah, we were at a park one time and there was a drone overhead and didn't think anything of it at first. And then kind of looked around and nobody at the park was it wasn't obvious who was flying this drone.
Right.
And then it was kind of like, well, now why are you flying the drone? If there had just been a guy standing over there flying his drone around the park, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. He's at the park. He can see everything that's going on over here. I don't know. Maybe you go off with it, but you're like, what kind of weird creep is possibly over here flying this drone over the head of the park? You don't know.
Right.
Could have been a surveyor. Could have been a creep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
We wound up leaving.
Yeah, and so, Andy just pulled up a Florida man was arrested for shooting down. That's why I was going to a Walmart delivery drone. But I mean, like, what if, like, when are you allowed to interact with this? Like, if this drone is in your backyard, like, to the point where, like, it's below your house line, then can you do something about it?
I don't know, man. If you're standing on my porch harassing me, I can do something about it. If you're hovering in front of my porch, can I do anything?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So, yeah, I don't know. Obviously I had a drone, like, I mean, I've had for years now, like to the point where like you could just fly a drone and then like, wherever you wanted even. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they like put out like, okay, now that you had to register your drones with the FAA and like all this stuff. And like, they were trying to like all these rules. And it's similar to AI where like things are going so fast that they're just kind of like letting it happen. And then they're going like, ooh, hold on. We need to pull that back a little bit. But yeah, it always, I know it makes people uncomfortable when we film out in public, which technically, I mean, you're allowed to film out in public. I mean, that's why it's out in public. Like you're allowed to do that. But some people like don't like to be behind the camera and things like that. And I get it, but this is different. I'm at my house now.
Yeah. Right.
It'd be like me, like standing at your house
with a video camera.
with a video camera on a ladder, like filming into your backyard, and you're like, you can't do that. I'm like, well, I'm on the sidewalk with my ladder. You can't stop me, right? So like at some point you're just like, okay, this is kind of awkward, Yeah. And so that's kind of what it feels like. What if someone had a giant selfie stick just like walking by your pool, just filming in your backyard? You would be like, you're a creep.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think you could easily make a case that they were doing something wrong, but it's a Wild West still.
Yeah, it really is. So. All right, well, this is Andy's favorite thing, shower thoughts. So here we go. Yep.
Your car key has probably traveled more than your car.
Your car key has probably traveled more in your car. Yeah.
Usually it's in your pocket.
Yeah, when you're flying and stuff like that. Yeah.
Hello, and here's some shower thoughts. Honey is the tastiest of all the insect vomits we have tried so far.
Tried so far, bro.
Yeah, I agree. I love honey. It's
honey's
very
delicious.
tasty.
We just made a fire honey cookie.
Yeah.
You've only opened your eyes once more than you've closed them.
True. I guess we all end with them closed, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. When you come out of the womb, your eyes are closed.
Mm-hmm.
No, for real. Your eyes are closed when you come out. So I don't think you've opened your eyes one more time. I think you've actually.
Other way.
Yeah, I think it's equal until you close them for the final time, and then you've technically closed your eyes more than you've opened.
Yeah, that's a weird thing with your eyeballs. Like, what is the position for your eyelids? Because like you have to have muscles to open them, and then unless you're really tired, it actually feels like you're using muscles to close them.
Yeah,
to like keep them closed. You know, it's like
my eyes want to close a lot.
Yeah,
but,
new baby.
Yeah, but no, but for real, like when Beckham came out, his eyes were closed.
Okay.
I feel like your eyes are closed when you come out.
Mine were all C-sections. So.
Their eyes were probably closed.
They were probably closed.
And then they put that like gunk on them sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And then they're definitely closed.
Yeah, Liam opened his eyes very quickly for as small as he was, and his eyes looked black.
Oh yeah.
He was so small.
Yeah.
Letty, I remember that.
Yeah, Letty
burned.
I even told Aubrey like Letty's opened her eyes like way more than Beckham has. Like I feel like for the first 3 weeks of Beckham's life, I was like, does he even open his eyes? Aubrey's like, yeah, he does. Yeah. And I'm like, when?
Yeah.
Because like I feel like
Liam got to that stage, but like going in the NICU and everything else, I mean, like I remember it being like freaky because I mean, even the nurses were like, wow, he's so alert. 3-pound little baby, holding my finger, like staring at me with these black eyes,
Yeah.
Gosh.
CIA probably has the biggest database of inappropriate pictures in the world.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, nowadays with things like Pornhub and stuff like that.
Have you seen that ladies like shutting them down?
A lady shutting down.
Mm-hmm. She's going after them. Their vetting process.
Okay.
Yeah, their vetting process is so lax.
Yeah.
That they make the uploader like validate who they are, but not who's in the video.
Right.
So they're just pushing.
Oh yeah, because in like revenge
stuff
porn and stuff like that is like
worse.
a big thing.
Yeah.
Well, I apparently I don't know this for a fact, but like they were saying like in Florida now you have to like enter your driver's license information in order to access like pornography websites now. Like it's
again, that's one of those things where it's like doesn't affect me at all.
Right.
Don't know if you should have to do that or not. Feels very looking over your shoulder at all times.
Yeah, but is it verifying the age?
Yeah, and I mean, I understand what it's for.
Yeah.
But it's like, who knows what that data collected is going to be used against people later? Who knows?
You know what?
Ain't catching me with shit. So.
Yeah, ain't catching me either.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, even like Second Amendment stuff. How many people are like, well, I don't own a firearm. I don't care.
Right.
And then you just let it go.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. You don't get your rights back.
Yeah, that's true.
Getting very drunk seems way more fun than being very drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True that.
I mean, I don't really recall times that, like, at parties that I had a lot of fun because I just blacked out and then was way too drunk and just terrible the next day.
Yeah, and I mean, even the way everybody talks about it, it's like, oh, my God, that was so much fun. It's like, what was fun? I don't really remember.
Yeah.
Whole night's a blur.
Yeah.
What about that's fun?
I think the fun part for most people is that they like their inhibition goes down.
Yeah, I think a lot of people keep a lot of stuff really pent up, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, they don't say how they don't talk how they want to talk. They don't do anything they think. Well, the inverse of that, though, is then when they get a little loose, they say a whole bunch of embarrassing stuff that is outside of their typical character.
Right. And people are like,
yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's been so long. I mean, I obviously recently cut back drinking, quit drinking. But it's been a long time since I've thought I said anything or did anything stupid to that level or had that much.
I haven't like drank more than like maybe a couple of glasses of wine or something like that, or a couple of drinks with Aubrey ever. So like Aubrey's never seen me drunk, and she's like made comments like, "Oh, I'd like to see you drunk." I'm like, "No, you don't."
Yeah,
like it's not. It's like not a. It's not a cool. Like it's not.
Well,
fun.
and yeah, and it's
Brad was not a fun drunk. Like,
well, that's something too where it's like, y'all's dynamic works without the alcohol, so
right,
why add it?
Right.
Kind of same deal, man. I've known some folks that had a pretty good relationship seemingly, and then when they stopped drinking, kind of went to hell, and it seemed like that was their only commonality. So luckily, my wife and I don't have that problem.
Well, I'm sure you have friends that like when you stop doing something, even if it's not drinking, but like something that like now you have nothing in common.
Yep.
If I just stopped running, Garrison would just stop being my friend probably.
Yep.
He would just be like, well, we don't run together, so. I have no reason to be your friend. You know?
Yeah, no, it's you know. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's very real. Like you bond over that kind of shared activity, whatever it is. And so you don't do CrossFit anymore. Nobody calls you to.
Well, when I quit drinking when I was in the military, all of a sudden didn't have a lot of the friends that I had because we went out drinking in Seattle all the time. And so when I would go with them, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go to the bar. Like, y'all go ahead. And it was just like, oh, no, Brad's lame. It's like, I'm going to dinner with you guys. Like, what the heck, man? But because I didn't have the stories, you know, with them, it just wasn't worth it. So
the more you know about the world, the less bearable life seems.
I agree partially. We talked about this watching some of the like doom and gloom content.
Yeah.
The more you realize like certain things and the atrocities that are around in the world and stuff, to me it feels like a rain cloud because I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think I just realized like I can't do anything about it, and that's like not the sphere that I'm in right now, you know. But I agree with you. But it's almost like that Tony Robbins thing. It's like what you focus on.
That's right.
It's easier to focus on it because it's getting thrown at you. And I think social media. I mean, they've said that depression rates, especially in teens, has skyrocketed since social media came out because people are constantly getting bombarded with FOMO and, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. And and I honestly don't think people know how to be bored anymore. I remember going to the doctor's office with my mom, and I'd be like 12 years old, but there'd be that stupid game where you just like move the little things on the tracks, and I would be sitting there just doing that because it was something to do.
Or reading every old magazine that was in there.
I'd be reading a fishing magazine.
Didn't matter.
Yeah, whatever. Hunting magazine, fishing magazine, like read everything.
Quilting monthly.
Yeah, just all these different.
The highlights. Yeah, I remember those too.
But no, I mean, and so like I was thinking about that the other day, and even kids at restaurants, like they don't even want to color. They want their iPad or like whatever, you know, and they just can't sit there and talk or, you know, do whatever.
Well, that's the thing as parents, though. You gotta, you really gotta set the example for your kids. So it's tough because even some of my more electronically strict friends that are strict with their kids' electronics, I still see them sitting on their dang phone the whole time they're at dinner.
Yeah.
And now your kid is looking at you going like, why can't I do the same thing that you're doing?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of tough. With the coloring specifically, I make my kids color and I color with them.
Yeah.
I just do. I like to color. It's easy. It's fun. I never do it unless I'm at a restaurant or something. I'm like, you got crayons? Yeah, I'll take some.
The hard part is there's like a certain age, right? And it's like 18 months to probably like 2.5, 3, where your kid can't really color.
Yep.
They don't really talk that well, and it's hard to keep them entertained. So the iPad comes out, but then it stays too long. And now I've seen at restaurants where these like 7, 8-year-old kids like have to have these iPads in order to like sit through dinner and stuff like that. And so that's to me is like what I'm fearful of, you know, with Letty. Like I don't want to get to that point. Truthfully, we don't go out to eat a lot, so it's like not
it's
really
a weird line because like these things aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so like what is going to be normal 10 years from now?
Yeah.
When my kids are older, or 20 years from now?
Yeah.
Like I know that they'll be able to pick up where they left off, or so to speak, or whatever, but like we didn't have any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that like it wasn't a like, no, you can't have your iPad. It's like that shit didn't exist.
Right.
So my mom didn't have that barrier, whereas like we do. And yeah, it's way easier. And if your kid is just not feeling it and you want to have a nice dinner with boom, here it is. But you're not forced to do those like hard parenting things that our parents did.
Well, yeah, you didn't have your own computer growing up as a kid. You had a family computer, and it was normally like in the family room, in the living room, and it was like over there on the side.
Hutch.
Yeah, and there was like you opened up doors or like slid out things to like hit this, and that's how it was whenever you were like when we were growing up, and it wasn't this. Kids didn't have tablets and Xbox Live to play on. I remember when Xbox like came out with Halo, I was literally leaving I was like college age, you know? And so like there wasn't that same kind of like gaming community. I think a lot of MMOs like World of Warcraft and stuff was like how people like gamed and talked to each other, you know? Right. And that was like, but that was like a different level of nerdiness. I feel like people that played
at that time for sure. For at our age bracket, like you had to be in deep to really be in the WoW kind of
Gaming
campaign. But then now they're everywhere. And every game is like, just like the apps, social media, and everything else, they're built in a way that like really rewards you for staying on their platform.
And community, because they know that if you have friends or you make friends on the game, so they force you to almost like play together.
I mean, I can only speak to like Fortnite and a couple of other games that I'm
Roblox
familiar with.
Minecraft.
But if you're here at this time for this period of time, you get loot. If you're here over here, you get some gold to spend over here, a new weapon upgrade or whatever. And so like it puts this like, Dad, I got to be on at this specific time. And you're like, what world is this gaming?
Right.
You know, like I could jump on Counter-Strike or Quake or something back in the day at any time, find a group of people to play with, play for 30 minutes, an hour or
hit
longer.
A random pub up
and then hop out.
Yeah.
And nothing mattered.
Right.
My stats stayed. I didn't need anything. You couldn't buy stats. Now they're just little cash extraction machines.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. All the skins for Fortnite and stuff, and they're just like constantly dropping
I need $20 for a dance move.
So
like, what?
Your boring job or life is probably the dream job or life of someone else.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree with that.
Yeah. In general, I mean, I think that everyone can like look up the ladder a little bit, and I can recognize that I have some great things in my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Arcades are typically just a way for children to gamble legally.
To some extent. I mean, I don't view some of it. I view as gambling. Like there's certain games where it's like, you know, trying to hit certain things and
Coin
jackpots.
pushers.
But like some of them, like for my favorite games, are like like the hunting games or like the shooter games. Like that's not. I mean, that's an actual gameplay.
Yeah.
So I always viewed arcade as entertainment.
Same.
But yeah, I guess if you're like, because I never cared about the prizes. Like
I
I
didn't
came
either.
there knowing I was going to spend money to waste time.
Yeah, I think my mom did a pretty good job at like kind of teaching me that the exchange rate for whatever that gift was, like, you know, you got to pay $300-400 for that $2 teddy bear.
Yeah.
In game tokens. Like, I'll just get you a $2 teddy bear. Call it good, Adam. Don't worry about that stuff. And so, yeah, same deal.
So quit worrying about trying to get the tickets.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So ticket games. And then a lot of the, you know, we had the Skate Factory here.
Yeah.
And so that had like a little arcade and you can get the tickets, but it was like, yeah, again, at the end of it, I was just getting like 50 Tootsie Rolls for me and my friends and calling it good. I wouldn't, I can pay 50 for a single finger trap. No, give me 50 Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. You know?
Right, yeah. So for me, I've always viewed it as like, how much money am I spending for the time I'm spending there? You know, because it's like, $10 at Dave & Buster's sometimes on like the half point or double point, whatever. You're like $10, you essentially were there for like 2 hours. You're like, well, that's a really good deal, you know?
Absolutely.
And then other times, you know, you're like, well, I spent way too much money for an hour that I was here. So, yeah, feel that.
The type of person that actively wants to be in a position of power is usually not the type of person you want in a position of power.
Yep. Agree there.
Yeah.
Man, in any time I've ever been put in a leadership position, I was put in the position. I did not ask for it. I did not want it or think I deserved it. Somebody else thought I did, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you just are the type that wants to be in charge, like, look, leaders are born. Y'all have all done group projects or everything else when nobody is really working together. Somebody usually has the skill sets of, like, kind of building that out. I think a lot of it's natural. I think sometimes teachers, whether they mean to or not, kind of jack that up because they'll just put some random person in charge.
I've always hated group projects because of the fact that it was like sink or swim with the group. And there are people that were okay to either gamble that you wouldn't be okay to fail. So they would just be like, pull their weight, right? I would have loved it if teachers were like, group project, here's the group leader, or y'all vote on a group leader. And then once the group leader was selected, then the project gets divvied up. And then I think that should be submitted to the teacher. And then at the end of it, you submit, you know, you work together because it should be collaborative. I think there's overlap in that situation. But if someone obviously didn't pull their weight, I think the teacher should be like, yeah, A, B, D.
Yeah,
know?
I agree because in a group project,
there's no consequence.
It should be part of a larger, I don't want to say experiment, but something that the kids can learn from. Unfortunately, you will learn in an adult life, some people are able to get by on just running their mouth and not really doing anything, unfortunately. However, if there were some like parameters set where so-and-so had, you know, different job duties or different whatevers, Yeah, I mean, in academia, that should absolutely, because that's what you're learning how to do.
Right, and I think that I've learned, again, through the Boundaries book, that in order to have effective boundaries, there has to be consequences, and there can't be consequences for the no work of that one person, because one, they either get brought up by everyone else's work, and then everyone receives a poor grade except for them, or people just do their work for them because they don't want the poor grade. Right. So they're not willing to set the boundary and take the worst grade, you know? So, yeah, I don't like group projects for that reason. I've never, and I've also been, I mean, not that I've been like the lazy person, but I've also been the one that felt like they got like way more work. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do this portion of it, and other people are going to have to chip in, or else it's just not going to get done. Because that's another thing. I feel like it's like whoever's divvying it up, sometimes you're like, wait, you're just putting this all together and you're calling that your piece of this group project? Like, no, I don't think so. Was that it? Was that that was it for the shower thoughts?
All right.
Man. Well, now I want to call Christian and find out all about this Unify stuff. So we'll definitely have to do that afterwards. Sure. Update, what are you doing today?
I am going to see Dogman with my son. So, yeah, very exciting. I've been owing him a little, boys'
well, you
night.
say very excited, but you're not too thrilled to see it.
Well, it's a totally kid movie, and they're just, I don't know.
Part dog, part police officer, right?
Basically, part dog, part police officer, all fun. But so we'll see. I don't know. I have a hard time staying awake movies anyways, and so, but I do enjoy spending time with my son, and I've owed him, the time, and obviously I got the boot on, so we haven't been as physical. We usually do some kind of
you've been doing jujitsu and stuff with him too.
Yep. So he went to jujitsu today. Still, he's still holding it down. He's a higher belt than I am. Whatever. I kind of like that.
Yeah, but you can still take him.
Yeah. Well, for now. For now.
Well, I mean, it'll probably be a hot minute before he gets there. So, but anyway, well, thanks for watching. You're worth it. Do hard shit.
See ya.